Hey everyone, this is Dean with DCA Crypto. Bitcoin's had a bit of a pullback, but are we still on track for a new all-time high in the next month or so? That's what I'm going to cover in today's video, so I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, smash that like button, and let's jump into it. Alright, today's video we're going to be covering Bitcoin and what's going on with the market, because we've had a little bit of a pullback since we got up to, I think, around 69,500. Had a big pump over the last few days. Now we're having a pullback, so people are wondering what's going on. Was this a fake out? Well, we're going to jump into that in this video, so let's take a look. So on the daily chart here, as you can see, my little zone that we've got here, this little zone that we've been in since February, we have now made this our support over the last few days. You can see perfectly we came up, broke through it, and now we've touched back down. We did have a wick down under here, but you can see the whole actual candle itself is still above this. So we made this our support so far. Now hopefully this holds. If this holds, this is going to be good news, and hopefully we're just having a little bit of a pullback, and then we spring and take off from here. So that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen here. I was kind of expecting this to happen, but it's difficult to say exactly what will happen for sure. But so far so good, nothing unusual, nothing to worry about so far. So far it's looking okay. Let's take a look at the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame here, you can see we are well above this. We broke this candle through, and we've printed this candle. We're printing this candle right now above it. Now we could pull back down below it. Hopefully we stay above it here. But so far in the weekly, we're looking good. Although this 50-day moving average did turn red, which is kind of calling for a short on Bitcoin. This is around the 70,000 level here. So you can see we need to get up above 70,000 and make this 50-day moving average our support level. Once we do that, I think we'll be off to the races for a new all-time high. Until we do that, until that happens, we can't really say too much is going to happen here as far as the bull run. Now this could take days, weeks, or months to play out. We don't know. I'm expecting hopefully for this to happen sometime over the next month where we break above this. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the presidential election. Of course, we're going to take a look at that and see how early voting is going, because early voting is showing significant difference between this election and the previous election. So whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but we're going to take a look at it because I think that is important to take a look at here. So let's jump into the early voting so far for this election. So this top bar here is this is Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania. They're only showing these on this for some reason, but these are some of the swing states. So in 2020 is the top bar, 2024 is the bottom bar. As you can see, there are fewer Democrats basically that have cast ballots in the early voting so far than last election. In all these states, fewer Democrats have voted and more Republicans have voted. So that in itself is good news if Trump were to win for crypto. That would be very bullish if this is playing out, hopefully for a Trump win here. But it's too early to tell, obviously. But you can see the numbers at this point in the election, early voting. So far, it's, there's like 10% almost fewer Democrats voting and more Republicans voting. 10% more Republicans voting here, 6% more in North Carolina, 3% more in Nevada, 10% more in Pennsylvania. But you can see there's heavy Democratic voters in Pennsylvania, so I don't think Trump's going to win that, potentially, depending on how the actual vote goes. But this early voting can be an indicator for how the main voting can go. Now, Arizona last time was a really close race, if I remember, and potentially Nevada as well. So if more Republicans are voting right now, more Republicans have voted in Arizona than Democrats so far in early voting. But so far in Nevada, it's still more Democrats than Republicans, but more Republicans than a little bit more than last time. So it's going to be a little bit closer race in Nevada this time, and possibly in North Carolina. It's really close right now, 35% versus 33%. So really close in North Carolina. The potential for Trump to win North Carolina is there. A lot bigger, a lot closer than 2020 for sure. There's 42% versus 27%. So, so far, it's a lot closer race in North Carolina. So we'll see. But so far, the Republican voting is looking better than the Democrat voting than the 2020 election. But it's just early voting. It doesn't necessarily mean anything per se. But so far, that is the case. So I just wanted to point that out in here. So this article here says 3 critical Bitcoin charts to watch out amid growing 100 BTC price calls. So Bitcoin's recent price action shows a classic breakout and retest pattern, hinting at a potential rally towards $100,000. Raising liquidity and strong bullish momentum indicators suggest a continued uptrend for Bitcoin despite recent corrections. Historical trends and halving cycles align with a possible $135,000 Bitcoin price target by 2025, barring a fall below 48,000. So they're saying basically here, as long as we stay above 48,000, if it aligns with previous cycles, Bitcoin could hit 135,000 price target by 2025. So they're saying here, Bitcoin analysts, including Wall Street veterans and Kathy Wood, have predicted a $100,000 price target for Bitcoin. However, their expectations have fallen short every time, including this year, which Bitcoin's price has been consolidating since it established a record high of around 74,000 in March. They're saying, nonetheless, calls for $100,000 Bitcoin are growing again, with fundamentals such as the ongoing interest rate cuts in the U.S. and rising institutional interest supporting a bullish outlook. So they talk about, all that, and this. I'm not going to read this whole article here, but it looks like they're calling for basically a higher move with Bitcoin in the upcoming months here still, and everything's looking good and on track. So hopefully that is the case. But, one of the things that I was kind of wondering about here is, are we going to get to $100,000 or more with Bitcoin, or are we going to fall just short of that? We don't know for sure. Bitcoin never hits the price target people think it's going to. People get crazy price predictions, 250, I've heard 400,000 for Bitcoin in this election if Trump wins. That's not going to happen. I mean, there's no way Bitcoin is going to hit 400,000 by the end of 2025. I just don't see that happening. So be careful what you're believing out there. I don't care who wins the election. I don't think Bitcoin is going to get that high. I could see over $100,000 Bitcoin if Trump were to win, and if Kamala were to win. Depending on her policies, she's hinted at being kind of pro-crypto now, but nothing, set in stone. She hasn't publicly stated too much about crypto. So, I would say Bitcoin could maybe get to 100,000 if she were to get elected. But I guess it depends on if she were to kind of turn around and make things really positive for crypto. There is a possibility she could do that if she gets elected. We don't know. It's really going to depend on what kind of legislation gets passed in the United States. Hopefully, if another good crypto bill comes to her plate, she won't veto it like Biden did. Because Biden, he was going to veto that crypto bill that went in front of his, in front of his pen, and he vetoed, that. So I don't know her feelings on that. Hopefully she would pass something if she were to get elected. So if we go to Bitcoin's historic monthly chart returns here, we're still in the positive for October. Even with this pullback, we're still at almost 5%. So still on track for, a positive October, although it's not, it's the least positive we've had pretty much. 2022, we had 5.56%. But I think over the next week, maybe we'll see this push up more by the end of the month. Because typically the last week of October, we've seen some really good moves in Bitcoin. So hopefully that'll happen here over the next week. And hopefully we'll get up above that 70,000 mark. That would be fantastic if we close the month. If we close a monthly candle above 70,000, I think that's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. So let's all hope that happens. So the Bitcoin dominance chart here, we can see Bitcoin is just climbing up and climbing up. I don't see any weakness on this chart on the weekly. It looks good. We're above the 50-day moving average on the weekly here. So Bitcoin's going to continue to rise on this chart. The Bitcoin dominance, and it needs to get above 60%, so it needs to get way up here. I think it'll do that when it breaks a new all-time high. I think it'll finally break above here, and then hopefully it'll come crashing down, and we'll have a nice big alt season, and alts will take off and scream from people pulling all their profits out of Bitcoin. we'll see. We'll see if this happens here. Historically, that has happened. So hopefully that is the case, and we break above this over the next few months here. Now, this may not happen until the end of this year, early 2025. You know, this may not happen until February, March next year. We don't know. We're on track for it, but if we do a measurement here, how far do we need to get from where we're at now? We need to get like 2% move, basically. About a 2% move. So if we measure, you know, it did that right here in one week. So it's possible that it could do it in a week. But you know, even here it did that big of a move in a week. So it's possible it could do that in a week. You just don't know what Bitcoin is going to do. When it moves, it can move like crazy. So hopefully we get a big move here and get above the 60% Bitcoin dominance, so we can hopefully come into an alt season. That's what we're all hoping for. And we take a look at the pi cycle top indicator here. We're still, you know, I'm just going to keep covering this, you know, weekly or so, and just look at it and just make sure we're still on track. We're still moving apart on this pi cycle top indicator. So as long as that is the case, we're moving apart or parallel with each other, I think this is perfectly fine. Once we start getting closer and closer and the lines come close to touching, that's when I think we're going to potentially hit the top of this market like we have in the previous cycles here where the lines touch. They may not fully touch this cycle. Really depends on how bullish Bitcoin gets, but they start getting close to each other, we know it's time to start taking some serious profits on our, you know, our coins. So that's kind of how I'm going to play that in this bull run. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video, guys. We're still on track currently as of this recording. Obviously, anything can happen between when I'm recording this and when it gets out to you guys. So, you know, just kind of keep that in mind. But so far, we're still on track. Things are looking good. I know some people are getting a little worried about a pullback today, but, you know, we broke through resistance and now we're retesting it as support so far. Hopefully, we don't lose it as support. If we do that, then this could push it out a little bit longer before we get into a bull run. So that's what I wanted to cover in this video, guys. I really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. Check out my free Telegram. The link for that is in the description below. And my Discord, that is through Patreon. I give all my trades and everything in my Discord, so you guys can check that out as well. Like I said, the link is in the description below. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next video.
Tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me.